How would a second-person video game look like? There are already a handful of videos on YouTube discussing the topic, but I don't think they do it justice. Let's first understand the terms we are dealing with. In grammar, first person is when the speaker is referring to themselves, second person is when the speaker is referring to their present subject, and third person is when the speaker is referring to their absent subject. That doesn't help at all. So, let's move on to something a little bit more similar to video games. In books, as in storybooks, the first, second, and third person perspectives refer to the author's framing of their subject. For example, a first-person story is one where the author frames themselves as a character within the fiction. Something like this. I said to myself, "Wow, what a nice cock." That's a first-person story. A second-person story is when the author frames you as a character in the story. You went to Canada and wrestled a grizzly bear. Is that animal abuse? I'm pretty sure it is. But yeah, that's a second-person story. A third-person story is when the author frames the characters as other people. James went out and bought milk, then he died. The end. Here you go, that's your third-person story. Now we know what they mean, but I still don't get how they would translate to video games. In video games, you aren't seeing the perspective of the writer relative to the characters. Perspectives in video games are about the position of the camera. Camera. Where can I get one of those? If you've ever been on a set, you know that almost everyone there has some form of direct authority over some part of the film. So, defining the author of a film is a bit complicated. You could say it's a philosophical question, and I hate philosophy. It's basically pretentious guys and gals jerking each other off. If you're into that, all power to you, but I personally hate it. So, without getting philosophical, the equivalent of a book writer on a film set is something or someone that, much like a book writer, immediately frames the characters of the story. So, the camera, not the cameraman, the camera. Knowing that, a third-person movie is one where the camera frames the characters of the film as other people. That's most films, including this one. But how about a first or second-person movie? This is Hardcore Henry. It's a feature-length first-person movie. Why is it considered first-person? Well, because the camera is framing itself as a character within the film. This is far more rare than the third-person perspective for two main reasons. First is that it requires a lot of balls. So only two kinds of people use it, Russians and athletes. The second reason is that it's very, very limiting. Why stick your camera to just a guy when you can do this? Most of you have seen a third-person movie. Some of you have seen a first-person movie. But I doubt anyone among you has ever seen a second-person movie. I know I haven't, but why is that? Why has no one ever made a second-person movie? It's fairly simple, right? It's like a second-person book, but instead of the writer framing you as a character in the book, the camera frames you as a character in the film. Oh, so that's why no one has ever watched a second-person film. You can't watch a second-person film. In order for a film to be second-person, you'll have to be the subject of the camera. You have to act in the film. Every movie is second-person for its actors. That's amazing. Now that we have all the puzzle pieces, let's finally move on to video games. A second-person video game is a video game where the camera frames you as a character within the video game. Every single video game camera frames you as a character within the video game, and as the title suggests, every video game is second person for this very reason. That's it. We're done. Or are we? The thing behind me is Uncharted 4. Well, actually it's a green screen, but you get the point. Most people call Uncharted 4 a third-person video game, since the camera is framing the characters as other people. But consider the following. In Uncharted 4, you can move your character, meaning you have authority over it. You also have authority over the camera, which means you can move that too. In effect, you're framing yourself as a character within the video game. Sounds suspiciously similar to our definition of the first-person perspective, doesn't it? So, which is it? Is Uncharted 4 a first-person, second-person, or third-person video game? We made a reasonable case for all three, but which one is the right answer? All of them. You heard me right? All of them. As for why that's the case, we'll have to take a detour to understand language a little bit better. Also, we're gonna move to Vice City for no fucking reason.
Having a dream, and in it, I'm just a machine.
You know, stealing a Ferrari Modena is surprisingly easy. You would think such an expensive car would have some expensive locks, but no, a sudden bicycle has more security. Anyway, let's get back on topic. Why the fuck is Uncharted 4 a first, second, and third-person video game simultaneously? Well, you see, that's a feature of language. Some people like to frame language as this centralized network of communication, but from my personal experience, it's more like a game. That's right, gamers, language is a game. But what do I mean by that? Well, you see, in a game, the only people who can change the rules of the game are those who are playing it. That's why every friend group has a different rule set for Uno. Language isn't a static set of rules and components. It's a game where you have to play along with other people and, if need be, change the rules and components. That's also why citing a dictionary is a twat move and a logical fallacy. Dictionaries aren't the authorities on language, humans are. Dictionaries are just a supplement for humans. That's why they are always changing. They are keeping up with us, humans. It's in the nature of human language to consistently evolve and become more intuitive and efficient. Instead of saying, your outfit looks delightful today, we just say, hey, you could drip. Though, we aren't here to make communication more intuitive and efficient. That would actually be productive, and I legally can't be productive. So, what's the point? Why are we here? I don't know. What I do know is that as the years have gone by, language has went from the medium of communication to the medium of our thought. It has become the window through which we view reality, and since we are in charge of that window, we can change it in so many ways. And once we change how we view reality, we can better understand it. And once we better understand reality, we can take better actions to hopefully change the world for the better. Man, this video got way out of topic, didn't it? What was the video even about? Oh, I remember. Is every video game second person? Maybe. That's up for you to decide. I've made my move. Now it's your turn. Thanks for watching. Kept you waiting, huh?
As expected.
So, you ready to go?
Always have been.
Where to?
LA.
Out of all the places in the world, you had to choose LA. Why?
You'll see.